And we begin this hour with the congressional investigation into the attack on the Capitol and what could be a new star witness for the January 6th committee. Steve Bannon, a former trusted advisor to Donald Trump, now says he will testify and he wants to do so publicly. His offer comes as he faces trial next week on criminal contempt charges for defying a congressional subpoena. Well, Bannon had argued he wasn't allowed to cooperate because Trump claimed executive privilege. It was an argument rejected by the committee and federal prosecutors. But in a letter to Bannon, Trump waived that claim of privilege. The committee will want to focus on Bannon's conversations with Trump and what Bannon witnessed in the plot to overturn the election results. They will also want to know more about his remarks on the day before the insurrection.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen, okay? It's going to be quite extraordinarily different. And all I can say is strap in. The War Room, a posse. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day. So strap in.
Strap in. Joining me now is Renato Mariotti, a former federal prosecutor and now host of the On Topic podcast. Hi, Renato. So Bannon's ominous remarks came the day before the riot. They sadly seem to accurately predict what would happen. How critical of a witness is Bannon to understanding the January 6th riots?
I think he could be a very important witness if he testified truthfully. I don't, however, have a lot of confidence that he's going to be forthcoming with the committee. This is an individual who received a pardon from President Trump, who had been charged in a fraud scheme. There's a lot of reasons to believe that he's not going to be cooperative with the committee. But he's obviously, his back is up against the wall. He's been charged with contempt. And so now he's coming forward. And I think the committee should take him up on his offer and hear what he has to say.
And he will be under oath, right? It's one thing to be on a radio show and lie to the public. It's another thing to be under oath talking to a congressional committee. So it will be interesting what he has to say. Although I will note others who have testified to the committee under oath have pleaded the fifth, such as Jeffrey Clark. But what do you think Bannon's sudden reversal is all about? Do you think it's a stunt?
Absolutely. I think it's a strategy. You know, Pamela, he actually kind of thumbed his nose at the committee and really put himself in a position where he doesn't have a lot to say in his own defense in a contempt proceeding. His lawyer was trying to talk to the committee, but basically when it came down to it, he wouldn't cooperate. He didn't even come in and assert the fifth. He didn't come in and assert privilege. He didn't give them anything. I mean, there's no privilege really over anything related to him because he wasn't in government at all. So he didn't really have much of a claim to begin with. So I think he put himself in a tough position. And now what he's going to say is he'll go before the jury at his trial and say, see, I did cooperate once Trump waived his privilege. I was willing to talk all along, and I really was doing this all in good faith. I think that's what he's trying to accomplish here.
So Bannon, through his lawyer, has said that he would prefer to testify in a live public hearing. Here's how one committee member responded on CNN this morning.
We got the letter around midnight from his lawyer saying that he would testify, and we have wanted him to testify. I expect that we will be hearing from him, and there are many questions that we have for him.
Would it be a public hearing, or would it be behind closed doors?
Ordinarily, we do depositions. This goes on for hour after hour after hour. We want to get all our questions answered, and you can't do that in a live format.
If you would explain why the committee wants to do these depositions behind closed doors first before going public. Clearly, in the case of Bannon, that's what they're planning on.
Yeah, so ordinarily, I think the Congresswoman is correct. Ordinarily, that is how you do this because, we heard, for example, Pamela, yesterday, Mr. Cipollone spoke and testified for over 8 hours. The reality is that no one has the time to pay attention to an 8-hour hearing, even if you are very interested in the news of the day. What the committee wants to do, and what, frankly, we do in real life trials when we put on cases, is we take long, let's say 8-hour deposition, and then you cut it down to the parts that really matter. And that is what we have seen in the public hearings so far. So I think that's going to happen here. But I think there's also with Mr. Bannon, just the fact that he is a bit of a loose cannon, to put it mildly. And I'm sure the reason he wants to testify publicly is to throw some bombs or move forward his own agenda. And I think having a deposition and doing it that way will prevent that as well.
You brought up Pat Cipollone. Sources tell me the committee did not ask him, he is the former White House counsel, to corroborate testimony from the committee's star witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, about him. And here's what one committee member had to say about that.
We never call in witnesses to corroborate other witnesses or to give their reaction to other witnesses.
But Renato, it's one thing if you're a prosecutor or attorney and you don't want to ask for testimony that could undermine another witness in your case. It's another thing if there is an actual investigation and you're trying to get to the truth and verify information you have. What does that strategy that Congresswoman Lofgren laid out tell you about this committee's mission?
I have to say, I really don't understand that comment at all. No matter what their mission is, whether it's to present testimony or to investigate, I would think it would be in their interest to find out what everyone knows. I think the only charitable reading of what she said is a misstatement. I don't think there's any positive explanation for that.
Well, and there are others, but other committee members, I believe Adam Kinzinger also reiterated what she said as well. And so that is why, I wanted to ask you about that, because the committee's stated goal is to investigate. And as you well know, as a former investigator, to investigate, you want to verify, corroborate information that you've heard elsewhere, unless you're working on it, you're putting someone on the stand and you're worried they're going to undermine what someone else says, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Pamela, there's no question that if you want to investigate, get to the bottom of the matter, you're going to want to ask everyone, and you're going to want witnesses to either corroborate, or if there are differences, you want to explore those and figure out why the differences in recollection are and determine who's accurate so you can get to the bottom of things. So I agree. As an investigator, I want to hear what everyone has to say.
All right, I want to ask you about what Congressman Jamie Raskin, a member of the committee, said about an upcoming hearing, that it's going to focus on a White House meeting that reportedly discussed the U.S. military seizing voting machines. How damaging to Donald Trump could this be?
Well, it's very serious. I mean, I do think it really, potentially, obviously, I think it's the sort of thing that lends itself to a conspiracy to defraud the United States charge. I will say that, I've been skeptical of whether such a charge would be successful, but I think, that we haven't seen any evidence yet that he was himself actually trying to push forward that scheme. We've seen PowerPoints that have been presented to him, but we have not seen testimony that he actually wanted to push that forward. And I think if he did, I think that would be devastating, because it would really suggest that he did not accept the results of the election, and it really, I think, leads to an implication that he wanted to physically alter the votes in some way.
All right, Renato Mariotti, thank you so much.